I see that NASA just made a new deal with the Russians for space station crew delivery?
Yes.
Did Congress have to waive the Non-Proliferation Act requirements again?
Of course. As a compromise, they got the Russians to promise that they would only give the Iranians factory seconds for missile guidance systems.
So, are they still charging $50 million a seat?
No. The price has gone up.
How much?
$63 million.
Why?
Because they can. It's been 7 years since the Bush administration decided to end the shuttle, which should have ended last year. They had all that time to come up with a capsule that they could have put on an existing vehicle, but they instead spent $10 billion on God's own corn dog, which is still tens of billions of years away from flying. You figure it out.
Well, at least the Soyuz is safe, right?
Not necessarily. The Soyuz has a new digital control system that seems to be having some problems.
Well, they are going to test it, right?
Yes. They are going to test it on the next crew to return from ISS.
That's not the normal way one tests things, is it?
Not really. But what do you want for only $70 million per seat?
What happens if the new digital control system doesn't work?
Oh, no biggie. It just means that they come in on a ballistic trajectory, landing hundreds of miles from the designated spot, and possibly breaking the crew's backs. It's not a problem though. They have a gun on board to ward off the wolves. They have experience with it.
Well, isn't the Congress concerned about this?
Oh, yes. Very concerned. Chairman Hall wrote the other day that it was, and I quote, unacceptable.
So what does he propose to do to not accept it?
He proposes, makes that demands, that NASA spend more money than it has been either authorized or appropriated to build a heavy-lift vehicle by 2016, and complete a capsule that was originally designed to go to the moon.
Why does NASA need a heavy-lift vehicle to send a lunar capsule to ISS?
It doesn't.
How much will that vehicle cost per flight?
It depends on how you keep the books. It cannot be below $1 billion though, even ignoring amortization of development costs. Add those, and you easily double it.
And how many crew will the moon capsule take?
4.
Is not that at least $250 million per seat?
Yes.
About 4 times as much as the Russians are charging.
Yes. But it's made in the good old US of A.
But Congress isn't going to give NASA enough money to develop it.
Well, yes. There is that. But just think of all the jobs until it's cancelled.
How much does SpaceX charge per seat?
$20 million. About a third of the Russian price.
How about Boeing?
They haven't announced a price, but I would guess it won't be more than the Russians. Particularly after their latest price hike.
Are not Boeing and SpaceX and the other commercial crew competitors American companies?
Last time I checked, yes.
So, they are less than the Russians and a lot less than the Senate launch system and multi-purpose crew vehicle, and could be available as soon as 3 years from now, but Chairman Hall does not want to fund them?
Yes. He says that by even proposing to increase their funding by a measly $350 million, so that the SLS and MPCV are only costing 3 times as much as them, instead of 8 times as much, that they are, and I quote, flipping the congressional priorities. He says that space is too important to risk it on so-called unproven companies that have dozens of successful launches in a row, to which we entrust billion-dollar defense satellites, or to companies that have already demonstrated the safe delivery and return of a pressurized capsule 3 months ago.
But it's not risky to spend more tens of billions on an underfunded system that we've already spent $10 billion on, when NASA has a 30-year history littered with failure of developing new launch systems?
Apparently not.
Would it be too cynical to suggest that the only priority that Congress is concerned about NASA flipping is its priority to keep the money flowing to certain zip codes?
I am fairly sure that it is not possible to be too cynical with these people. No matter how cynical you get, you just cannot keep up.